as many sessions possible from a revision point of view, right? At this point of time, if you're starting to learn something new, obviously that doesn't bode well. But overall, you should be focusing on doing as much practice as possible. And in order to do your practice, the idea would be to understand what exactly is the exam that you're facing. That in itself is one of the toughest exams, primarily from an education perspective in the entire country. And therefore, if you can simply say, we know what we're going to do by giving some mock examinations, that's not enough. Simply saying that we'll learn some theory and then give the examination, that won't be enough. It'll be a mixture, an amalgamation of both these things, but it has to be combined with a forethought of what the exam itself looks like. So I'm going to be deep diving into what an exam pattern would potentially look like. Once again, it changes on an yearly basis. It's extremely different from when I gave the exam back in 2012 to what it is now, but the fundamentals still remain in picture, right? That being said, let me quickly minimize my video and jump right into the presentation. Let me know if you are able to see my screen.
Yes, sir.
Perfect. So what we'll be doing in the next 1.5 to 2 hours is going through the paper pattern a little bit, understanding what exactly you might face in the next 1.5, in the next 2 weeks coming up, and then moving forward to solving some actual questions, right? That will be the focus of the entire presentation for us. Now, before we do that, it's important to understand what was the last year's paper looking like, right? In order for you to go ahead and say that we will be able to prepare ourselves a little bit better this time around. And as you can see, reading comprehension or the RC section takes up nearly 70% of the entirety of the paper, which essentially means that if you want to clear up the cat in itself, you could potentially focus on just one topic, doing up as much RC as possible, solving as many reading comprehensions as possible, and you could theoretically get into an IM all by itself. Because ideally speaking, anybody who gets somewhere between 35 to 40% marks in every section is eligible for an IM call, right? So half of RCs, that is to say, 50% of the 70% will clear you through. But the point comes around to be that the section in itself is extremely difficult. But is it exactly difficult? Right? That the question is, when you sit down to understand these RCs, when you sit down to solve these RCs, where exactly is your focus going? And that is where the difficulty of the entire thing arises. They want you to focus on heavy words. They want you to focus on questions that potentially nobody would be able to give a correct answer to at your level. But if you can circumvent that, if you can avoid getting into the trap of looking at hard questions, if you can avoid looking into the trap of trying to understand the meaning of some difficult words, that's where your job becomes easy. So when it comes to RCs, it comes around to be certain things. That is to say, if you are going too deep, if you're trying to understand everything that is written, you'll not be able to clear it out. Remember one thing, you are running against time. The overall section time that will be allotted to you would be half, potentially half of this session in itself, right? Which means on an average per question, you get around 2 minutes to solve it out, somewhere between 2 to 3 minutes. If you're devoting a lot of time in reading it, if you're devoting a lot of time in understanding it, that simply takes away the potential of you solving a question. So, one, do not try to understand everything that is written. Go through the flow ones, go through the RC ones as quickly as possible, and we'll practice it out in the next few minutes on how to do so. And as you move along, jot down the main points that you think are ones that could potentially create a question for you, right? Create a gist, create a roadmap of sorts. Try to understand that these are the main points that the author is trying to say over here, right? And we will also look into how there could be different potential things that could come around as a question, but you should be able to recall them extremely quickly, right? So one, make sure that you're not getting into the details. Two, note down the most important points, or even in shorthand, something that even you will understand, but note down what you think would be the most important thing. Another key aspect, always focus on if anything comes around to be a date or a theorem or anything that's written as a quote. Those are the ones that could potentially come back as something, and since they are factual in nature, right? Anything that is said from a statement point of view, anything that is said with a date or time reference perspective, anything that is written down as a theorem or a postulate, those are factual things. Nothing is to be taken out of context for them. They are as it is, and those are the easiest questions to solve. So when you are reading it, always make sure that you are trying to highlight the most important aspects of that particular paragraph or that reading comprehension, and highlight the facts, because those are the easiest questions to solve. Once you have done that, go back directly to the questions. And if you have read it correctly, you would at least be able to identify what part of the passage my answer is focused on. There are very few questions like what is the tone or the theme of the passage, what title could you potentially provide to a certain passage. These are the questions that you should mostly avoid, because among all the options that might be written, there are usually two or three that are easily confusable. You can get stuck around words that are similar in nature. You can get stuck around titles that feel really close to each other, and that those are the questions that you really should be avoiding. So if you see around a particular question, what does the author trying to say in that? What title can you potentially provide to this reading comprehension? What kind of theme? What is the message of this particular reading comprehension? These are the questions that you should not be wasting your time in, because chances are extremely high that you would get them wrong. If you're not extremely sure, if you're not 100% certain regarding understanding a particular thing, simply avoid those questions. Remember, your overall in the grand scheme of things, you need to solve 40% of the paper correctly. And in order to do that, you can leave aside a lot of questions which are vague, which you are not sure about, and which are potentially confusing in nature. And if you can do all of this, if you can avoid any tricky questions involving theme or title, if you can avoid getting looped up in difficult words and focus on the facts, focus on the main points, then solving the RCs becomes a lot more easier. Any doubts up until this point of time? Any doubts at all, guys?
No, sir.
No, sir.
Perfect. Then why don't we do this as an exercise? Let's go ahead and solve a reading comprehension. Now, I picked up some examples for you guys to solve today, and across this entire session, I picked up examples that came up in CAT 2020. All right. So this is something that you can solve in real time if you haven't done so already. And more so, you can determine that these are the kind of questions that you can potentially face. Okay. But before we do that, before we start around, let's have a look at the themes that potentially came up in both 2020 and 2019. And this will give you an indication that you cannot really go ahead and say, what kind of topic am I receiving? There's no way for you to prepare yourself around any of these. So have a look at Rc2020 topics. Anarchism, migration of northern seals, currency of Tang dynasty, grammar and vocabulary, investing in renewable energy technologies, piracy in international trade, study of visualization, analysis of human nature. Wow, it's varying a lot throughout, right? You cannot pinpoint that this could be a potential topic for us. Okay, so the idea is not to get bogged down regarding the syllabus that comes in. I remember when I gave my exam back in 2012, one of the reading comprehensions that came up was from a book called The Godfather by Mario Puzo. Has anybody read that book or heard about that book? The
Yes,
Godfather.
sir.
Okay. Now imagine one of the literary creations coming up as a reading comprehension, right? So you really cannot create a syllabus for it. You really cannot say that if I have read about certain sections, my reading comprehension is done. I will be able to clear them out. No, absolutely not. All they need to do is pick up any 3 to 500 word section from anywhere in the entirety of the human literature and create questions around them, right? Same thing happened in 2019. British folk music, Emperor Penguins, origin story of Aladdin, right? Imagine a Disney cartoon, right? Distributing bureaucracy, British colonial policy. So there is absolutely no way for you to go ahead and say that we can potentially prepare for an RC. There are just few things that you can keep in mind. One, make your reading habit speed as fast as possible. Two, creation of roadmap or creation of main points that you are reading through. Include all the facts and figures, include all the statements, make sure that you are covering the important names that are appearing. And four, make sure that you understand that these are the questions that I do not need to attempt. Okay, that's the most crucial part. Learn about the questions that you can skip through, and your job will be much more easier because you can then devote time to the questions that you actually need to solve. Now, that being said, I'm picking up this topic migration of northern seals for you to solve. Okay, so there are essentially three slides in which the entirety of this topic is covered. I'll give you 2 minutes per slide to read, and then we will jump on the questions and we will solve them together. Everybody clear with the format?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so 6 minutes in total to read it. I'll start a counter at my end and I'll continue to change it. Once you are done, you can take notes at your own end, you can scribble them down, you can take it as you want. But the idea would be at the end of it, there will be four questions for you to appear, and we will take into account what you have gone through, what notes you have created, and then go ahead and solve those questions. Everybody clear with it?
Yes,
Perfect.
sir.
Perfect. Let's start then. Change your slide in 5 seconds. Slide change happening. Time's up in 10 seconds, guys. Read through quickly. Okay. Everybody was able to go through the RC?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So,
Yes, sir.
before we begin, can somebody quickly summarize what you read? And I know this goes against the grain of what we should be doing, but I still want to see and hear from everybody, and I mean everybody present, what exactly did you read and understand from the entire thing? Anybody? Once again, I'm not looking for exact answers. I'm looking for your understanding of the topic, because that is what comprehension essentially means, right? You were able to comprehend something that we just read. So, what did you comprehend out of the entire thing? Is nobody else online right now?
So may I?
Yes, please go on.
Okay. So it's about a research or study of northern elephant seal population. That
Uh-huh.
because sir, that there is a name called Bernie Lebeouf, and his colleagues had studied about the male population of elephant, and that
Mhm.
because of these populations, males pulse rate was going slowest as compared to the previous ones, and because of these क्या कहते हैं इसे? immigrations, because of these immigrations, the average pulse rate was changing, and immigration was responsible for that, and the opposite could happen, that seals with faster rates would happen to arrive fast. Whereas in the last paragraph it was concluded that as the population continued to expand, these receiving immigrants will do these things more complex structure than its featuring doubles or triplets.
Okay, that's good. That's a good job over here. Anybody else who would like to take a shot? Anything that she missed out on? Anybody else? Come on, guys. We don't have a lot of time. Nobody? Then it begs the question, what were you able to comprehend out of it? Because the idea was that you read through, and I'm pretty sure I gave enough time. In a normal scenario, you would essentially be getting 2.5 to 3 minutes to read the entire thing and then answer. We did gave almost double the time to go through it. Okay. So if you are unable to take a few things out of it, if you were unable to capture the summary of this entire thing, it essentially means that your reading speed is either a problem, which is a big issue, or your note taking speed wasn't too great. Okay. And if that's the case, then you should really work on it in the next couple of weeks. Because keep this thing in mind, guys. Irrespective of how well you score in your quant or your LR section, if you do not clear this one, that means that you won't be getting calls from any great colleges. Okay, you need to focus on everything in order to clear through and crack through these this particular exam. All right. So let's come down to questions and let's see how much you were able to comprehend out of the questions that we just read through. Let me share the screen again. Who was it who answered actually? Who answered the entire summary? Guys, am I audible? Hello?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, am I audible to everyone?
Yes,
Yes,
sir.
sir.
Okay. Yeah, who answered the question?
So Muskan did.
Okay, good job, Muskan. Very well done.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, let's jump down to the questions. Question 1. From the passage, it can be inferred that the call pulse rate of male northern elephant seals in the southern rookeries was faster because. Now, there was a definite answer that was provided to it. So, go through these options and let's discuss. All right, what's the answer, everyone? One, two, three, or four?
So may I?
Yeah, yeah, please go on.
Third one.
Okay. Anybody else?
Sir, the fourth one.
Okay. Fourth. Who else?
So third,
Third. All right. What about the rest of you guys? Guys, what about the rest of you? All right. Let's look at the answers provided. Third and fourth. Let me start with the fourth one. The calls of male northern elephant seals in southern rookeries have more sophisticated structure containing doublets and triplets. Okay. That's a statement. Is it an answer? My question is, was faster because it is asking for an explanation. Is the fourth statement an explanation or is it merely another statement? What is it?
so the statement,
Correct. Absolutely. Right? When I'm asking a question, why was it faster? And it doesn't have a question mark at the end, but that doesn't mean it's not a question. You have to read through the entire thing to understand that it's a question that is male northern elephant seals in southern rookeries have a faster call pulse rate. Because, right, you need to fill that up. Because what's the reason? You will need to have an explanation. But the fourth statement is not an explanation, it's a normal statement that they have more sophisticated structures. Third one, which is the correct answer, I'm assuming. Male northern elephant seals of Isla Guadalupe with faster call pulse rates, and it calls back to the question in itself. It contains the exact word that you're looking for. Might have been the original settlers of southern rookeries. If you go down to the passage itself, the doublets and triplet paths are mentioned, right? But it is also mentioned that the as you go back towards the time, it is definitely a case that the original settler have faster call pulse rate, right? Now they are becoming more sophisticated in nature, which is true. But the original ones were faster in nature. Now they are becoming slower. So, both on slide 2 and slide 3, there were two definite instances of it being mentioned. The newer ones, they are faster, they are slower, sophisticated, and contain doublet and triplets. And the original one were having faster call pulse rates. So, third one is the correct answer. Good job. Next question. Which one of the following conditions, if true, could have ensured that male northern elephant seal dialects did not disappear?
So first one.
Okay, what about the rest of you guys? What about the rest of you guys? What do you guys think? Guys, what's the answer?
Sir, third one.
Okay. Anybody else? All right, let's look at the answers that came in. Third one. Call tempo of individual male seals in host colonies changed to match the average call tempo of immigrant male seals. Is this not exactly the opposite of what the question is asking for? Question is, could have ensured male northern elephant seals dialect did not disappear. But if you're changing them to match the average calls of immigrant male seals, the one who came in, that means it will actually disappear, which is what really happened, right? The answer is
मैं
first.
mic off करना भूल गई.
Sorry? Hello?
I'm sorry, sir.
Okay, no worries, right? So, what you answered is exactly the opposite of what is being asked. And if you simply reverse it, immigrant male seals change their tempo or change their dialects to match the host, to match the existing male northern elephant seals, then it doesn't disappear, which is what's the first statement is. Call tempo of individual immigrant male seals changed to match the average tempo of resident male seals, the one that were already existing. But what exactly happened was the third one, right? So don't confuse it with what really happened. The question is asking for something else. Question is asking for it changed. But what had to happen in order for it to not change? What is the hypothetical scenario that should have taken place so that it doesn't happen? All right? Correct answer, the first one. Next up. Which one of the following best sums up overall history of transformation of male northern elephant seal? This comes into the picture, and you would be able to answer it correctly if you have read through the entire thing very carefully. It's asking for a summary of the entire thing. Now let's see who picks it up. Okay. It's mentioned extremely beautifully at the very end of the third slide. So if you are able to recall that part, you will be able to answer it without any time and without any confusion.
So first option.
Okay. Who else?
Sir, first one.
Okay.
No, sir, it's third one. Less regional variety.
So third one.
Okay. Anybody else?
Sir, third one.
All right. I think this became much more simpler, right? See, second and see, two options are extremely close in nature, right? The first and third, or second and fourth. You can pick either of those two up because those would be similar in nature. But if you're picking up two or fourth, that would come down to the part that you really didn't understand it clearly. Owing to migration in aftermath of near species or race in recolonized breeding locations, gradual increase. No, it didn't happen, right? That did not happen. What we are looking at is composition being changed. So it comes down to either first or third. The first part, exhibiting simple composition, that's fine. That is similar. What you need to sort of recall is whether it is greater individual variety or less individual variety, or whether it is greater regional variety or less regional variety. And on that part, I think all three of you came down to the right option. It's the third one. Okay, fantastic job, right? And this is where your note taking, this is where your recollection of what you read through will come into the picture. Okay, now the last one. All of the following can be inferred from Lee Beo's study as described in the passage, except
So the third option.
anybody else.
So I think it's the fourth option.
So third one.
All right. I'm guessing since you three are the only one who are responding, so I'm pretty much done with any other response coming in. All right. Third or fourth. Let's look at the other options. Male northern elephant seals might not have exhibited dialects had they not become nearly extinct in 19th century. No, that was clearly evident. Average call pulse rate of male northern elephant seals at Ananovo Island increased from early 70s till disappearance of dialects. Fair enough, that's correct. Influx of new northern elephant seals into Ananovo Island would have soon made the call pulse rate of its male seals exceed that of ones at Isla Guadalupe. Now, that looks like the one that is not present. And the fourth one,
Yes.
changes in population and migration had no effect on call pulse rate of individual males. No, definitely not. We come down to the third one, right? Influx of new northern elephant seals into Ananovo Island would have soon made call pulse rate exceed that of Isla Guadalupe. That was nowhere inferred in the entire passage. And that comes down to be the correct option, right? So, this was one of your simpler reading comprehensions, right? And I say that with entirety of the sincerity that I could muster, right? It had straightforward questions. It eventually came down to how good you understood the entire thing, and it wasn't really complex to begin with, and two, with what kind of focus and sincerity were you able to read the entire thing, right? And on that front, that is where you will clear your reading comprehensions in SCAT as well. If I say that your reading comprehensions comprise the biggest chunk of all your questions in the VARC section, they will still be at least one of those paragraphs that will be simple enough to solve. That will simply require you to focus well on the question paper. There will be a section, there will be at least one or two paragraphs that will be easy to solve. It might be lengthier than this one as well, but the questions will be mostly straightforward. All you need to do is focus well, jot down or highlight the crucial points, and you will be able to clear them out. I think Muskan was the one who got all correct answers over here. So good job, Muskan. And it simply shows that in order to crack your RCs, the biggest part, and once again, the focus is on cracking the section and not solving every question. Both of them are entirely different. Cracking a particular question simply requires you to focus well on the right questions. You can eliminate few of them. So for example, if you were simply glancing through all the questions, you could have skipped this one. You could have simply skipped this one, because ideally it would have asked you to go back and read every single one of these, or to read the entire thing if you're simply glancing through, right? So since you were able to come up with the right answer, that's fine. But this is the kind of question that you can avoid doing. What was it inferred from the entire passage, right? If you are going to go back and read the entire thing, you are wasting your time. As soon as the question comes in, you need to know where exactly I need to go back to read the entire thing. But if you're going back to solve the entire passage again, to read it again, that's not the right way to go about it. So, fourth question, you can potentially skip, but out of the first three, two, question two and question three were the easiest solvable ones. And you need to focus on them. Once again, you don't need to solve every single question in the RC. You can skip through them. And question fourth was of that variety. Now, any doubt in the entirety of the discussion so far, guys?
Sir,
No,
I
sir.
have a question.
Yes, please.
So what we have to read first, the question which have asked in the passage or the passage first?
Now, go through the passage first. So the first order of business is go through the passage as quickly as possible, right? If you have very high reading speed and some retention capability, the best possible method of going about is read it first, understand what every paragraph is saying. I'm not saying that you need to remember everything, but go through what every paragraph is saying. Then have a look at the questions, and you'll at least be able to identify what are the main focus areas of that particular paragraph. Then come back and read those in greater detail. So if you can read everything in 1 minute flat, 1 minute, 1 minute 15 seconds, the best possible chronology of solving a reading comprehension, and that is what I used to practice personally as well, is go through the entire thing as quickly as possible, understand what every paragraph is talking about. There would definitely be one or two paragraphs potentially that will not be important at all. You can skip them, then read the questions and the options very quickly so that you understand which paragraphs you need to focus on, and then go back and read them in greater detail to get the correct answers.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Sure. I think somebody else was asking a question. Guys, was there another question coming up my way? Nothing. Can we move on with to parajumbles?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
All right. Fantastic. Now, parajumbles or paracompletions, and in subsequent call, your odd one out, are questions of similar nature. Okay. The idea over here becomes extremely simple, which is your ability to form a passage or paragraph by understanding the overall flow of the passage. All right, you will be given multiple statements, and you'll have to identify which statement should come after the first one and the second one and then the third one, and so on and so forth. Now, the questions could be of two types. One, I'm sorry for the disturbance in the background, give it a second. Okay, so sorry for the noise in the background. Now, there could be two different kinds of answers over here in terms of the questions that you'll receive. The first one, you'll be given multiple choices, right? That these are the potential options. And two, the theta questions, which is type in the answer. So you don't get an MCQ, you don't get the understanding of that these could be my potential options, but you need to form it on your own. Obviously, the job becomes a little bit difficult in that case, right? Where you need to type in everything. But if you follow some basic principles of parajumbles, you will be able to clear them up. So let's look at some of the things that you should definitely understand around your parajumbles. All right. Now, once again, there could be two other variations on that front. One, you could either be given the opener or the closing statement of the entirety of the paragraph and then asked, put the rest of them in order. So the first statement is given to you, or the closing statement is given to you, and then you are asked to solve the rest of them. But the other thing that you can also look at is, can you identify either the opening statement or the closing statement extremely quickly? Either of them. So, either a concluding statement or the one with which you are starting up the entirety of the thing. If you find a name, if you find a name, or if you find a new postulate, or if you find a new idea, there are chances that it could be the potential opener of the entire thing. Similarly, that basic difference between a noun and a pronoun can help you out over here, right? If you're finding something being mentioned for the very first time, there is a potential chance that it is the one that is starting off the entire thing. So always keep those statements in mind. Okay. Next up, and this becomes crucial over here, is look for the mandatory pairs, or in some cases, even a mandatory triplet. The idea being that there will be two or three statements that have to necessarily come in a specific order. They will not work in any other order. Okay. So, once again, a noun or a pronoun. If I'm talking about Ravi went to the supermarket, he purchased an iPhone from there. Can the second statement come before the first one?
No, sir.
What do the rest of you guys think? Ravi went to the supermarket, statement one. Statement two, he purchased an iPhone there. Can the mandatory pair be two and one in this case?
No, sir.
Okay. Similarly, the Big Bang Theory defines how the universe was created. There are some scientists who think this theorem doesn't really work. What would be the mandatory pair in this case? One or two or one?
One or two.
1 and 2.
1 and 2.
Okay. Similarly, let's look at another scenario. India became a freed nation in 1947, right? Indira Gandhi was a prime minister in 70s or 80s. The current government ruling the nation is BJP. Now, what would be the order over here?
1, 2, 3.
So 2, 1, 3.
Sir, second one, 2, 1, 3.
Okay. How does 213 come into the picture? What was the second statement? Indira Gandhi was a prime minister between in 70s and 80s. First statement was India became a free country in 1947. Now, this brings into picture another thing, the sequence of time. Sure, a new name is coming up, but do not forget that in a passage, it is also about creating a proper sequence, and time is another factor that comes into the picture over here. All right. So 47 in the past, then 70s and 80s, past, but it comes after your 1947 era, and current, which describes the present, and therefore that should be the last statement. Okay, so time is another way in which you can sequence out a lot of things. Let's look at another example before we move on to the actual questions. I went to the supermarket to purchase some groceries. Statement one. Also, I found a really cool pair of sunglasses and I purchased them. Statement three. I think I need to purchase some grocery for my home, and therefore I will go to some shop today. What is the order over here?
312.
312.
312, sir.
Okay, what's the answer?
312.
Now, the third one was confused while answering.
So third option can summarize all things.
How?
So that first of all, I bought some groceries from the supermarket. Then I go to some shop to buy
No, 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 no,
groceries.
no, no, incorrect. The first option was correct. I purchased some groceries from the supermarket. Second one, and it brings into the picture a transition word, right? Which means that this is definitely starting after something which is also, right? Which means something has happened before it. Also implies that something is going to happen, but previously something else has taken shape as well. Some action has happened, after which this also and the subsequent action is going to come into the picture, right? So, also, I purchased a cool pair of sunglasses. So, definitely, this is coming after another sentence. What was the third one? And there were two people who mentioned it correctly. The order is 312. What was the third statement?
That we have to buy something for like some grocery for our home, and uh, for that we should have to go like market. So that was the third sentence.
Correct. In the third one, I was simply creating an idea that I need to purchase grocery for my home and therefore I need to visit the supermarket, right? So, what will come first? The idea to do something or the actual action,
So idea.
right? Before you go ahead and would it be a case where you give the cat exam first and then think about I need to take admission in a B school? Will that happen?
No, sir.
Right, you first need to ideate that, all right, let me take admission in a B school, and then you say, all right, let me start preparing for cat, and then you give your cat examination, right? Which is another way of ideating and then giving something in principle. If I put it down into a sequence, it could be something like, uh, I am going to take admission in IIM Ahmedabad. Two, my cat percentile is 99.6. Three, I'm starting to prepare for the CAT examination. Two, I gave my CAT examination today. What's going to be the sequence over here?
So please, may you repeat once again?
Sure. Statement one, I'm going to take admission in IIM Ahmedabad. Statement two, I received 99.8 percentile in CAT. Three, I am starting to prepare for common aptitude test. Fourth, my CAT exam was today.
Sir, 231.
There were four statements.
So 3, 4, 2, 1.
3, 4, 2, 1. Sounds about right. First, I ideate that I need to give this exam. Second, I give it. Third, I receive the percentile. And fourth, I take the actual admission.
Admit.
Right? So, keeping this all these things in mind, let us solve some para-jumble questions. Now, once again, I'll give you how much time? Since these are five statements and a little bit complex, I'll give you 3 minutes to solve every single one of them, or rather 2.5 minutes to solve every one of them, and then we will discuss them. Fair with everyone?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Perfect.
Yes, sir.
Let's start. Let me put this up here. Okay. All right. What is the order, guys? What's the order between these five statements? Guys, you should not be taking any longer than that. Ideally, it's a 1.5 minute question.
Sir, 15243.
Okay. What about the rest of you?
24135.
24135. All right. Any other answer?
So 52143.
52143. Okay. Too many different answers. Can we listen to reasoning from why you arrived at this?
So I think 5 is the obvious opener.
Sorry?
I think 5 is the obvious opener of this.
5 as the obvious opener. Okay. What about the rest of you?
Sir, according to me, first is the obvious opener.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Sir, according to me, it's like 2 and 4 are the mandatory pairs, that 2 will come first, then 4. And it's about a disease called cardiac disease, that why it is caused. Then scientists for the very first time managed to edit these genes. Then there is a correction about the genes. Then in result, then the result announced. That's why this order for me.
Okay. Any other reason?
Sir, 243 is a mandatory pairs, the Triplet, and so I think the obvious opener should be 2. 24315.
Okay. You are right on two parts. Right. Absolutely correct. 243 is a mandatory triplet. Absolutely correct. Right. This is something that shouldn't be missed. Now, the other part that you were correct about is 1 and 5 is a mandatory pair. So, fantastic job up until this point of time. Right? You have banged down in terms of finding out the mandatory side of things over here. Right? 243, cardiac arrest causes sudden death in otherwise healthy young athletes and affects about 1 in 500 people overall. It is caused by mutation in particular gene. Child will suffer from condition even if it inherits only one copy of the mutant gene. Correcting the mutation in the gene would not only ensure that child is healthy but also prevents transmission of mutation to future generation. Bang on, bang on. These three are a triplet as it is. And 1 in 5 scientists have for the first time managed to edit genes in the human embryo to repair a genetic mutation. In results announced in Nature this week, scientists fixed a mutation that thickens the heart muscle, a condition called hypertrophic cardiomyopathy. The only incorrect part over here is the order of these. So you have 1 and 5, you have 2, 4, 3. You simply need to reverse it. Now, what's the cue over here? Why we are putting 1 and 5 before 243, I think there was a correct answer around it. Ma'am, can you would you like to explain why you chose that order?
So 15243.
Yes. Why? Why did you go about it?
Because in first question, it is mentioned that scientists have the first time managed to edit genes. Then in the last one, they are telling about the mutation of thickness. That it means that the scientist fixed a mutation that thickness the heart muscle. Then these two are the mandatory pair.
Correct.
Yeah, so I just put it in the first and second part. Then I
But
put
but then why my question is a little different.
yes, sir.
Why did you put 1 and 5 before 243? Why did you not start with 243 and then 1 5 as the other one did?
So because in both the questions, scientists have been mentioned.
That's fine. That
Yeah,
is the mandatory pair. I understand,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
That,
sure,
that is
sir.
creating the mandatory pair between 1 and 5.
Yeah.
But why are you starting with 1 and why are you not starting with the statement 2?
So because in first one, it has mentioned that the first time managed.
Okay.
So that's why I have selected it.
All right. So you arrived at the correct answer, but not necessarily the correct reason why. So as of now, is everybody clear that 1
Sir,
and 5 is a mandatory pair and 2, 4, 3 is a mandatory triplet?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay. The reason why I personally am putting 1 and 5 before 2, 4, 3 is look at statement 3, and this is where my link came in. Correcting the mutation in the gene. It is talking about a correction of mutation. And the first statement talks about genetic mutation in itself. It is giving you the idea first. There is something called repairing a genetic mutation. And then the third statement talks about correcting that mutation. So, in a way, and then scientists fix the mutation, which is coming in the fifth one. This is where I drew my part in that 1 and 5 being the mandatory pair. As an idea, it is setting it up. After the idea, the actual action of correcting the mutation would not only ensure the child is healthy, that part comes into the picture. Okay, so the idea in itself is being introduced in statement one. Now, the correction of that particular mutation is coming in at a later stage, which is why I'm putting 1 and 5 before the second, fourth, and third triplet. Clear with everybody?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Next statement then. Let's start. Oops. I hope nobody was able to look down on the answer. All right, guys, what's the answer? What's the answer, guys?
Sir, 54132.
Okay. What about the rest of you? What's the answer, guys? Come on, you cannot get as much time to solve a parajumble.
So 54132.
Okay.
So I would have skipped this question.
You would have skipped this question. That's fair enough, right? You would have skipped this question. But still, what's the answer that you would have gone with? If you were not skipping it, what's the answer?
So I didn't have the end of this. So, but I know that 5 and 4 will come first.
Okay, fair enough. So far so good. You're going in the right direction. 5 and 4 are a mandatory pair, and they start the entire thing. Perfect. Move on from there. What's next? Which statement comes next? Can you find another mandatory pair?
So 1 or 3 maybe.
Perfect, absolutely right. So far, so 5 and 4 is a mandatory pair that starts, and 1 and 3 is a mandatory pair. Perfect,
So
absolutely correct. All you now need is the placement of the second statement. Is it
yes,
going to be 5 4 2 1 3 or 5 4 1 3 2? So far, you're doing absolutely a bang up job. Which one do you think should be
Sir,
your
54213.
5 4 2 1 3? Okay, we now have a different answer. Have a look at 1 and 3, combine them, and then read them. The problem
Sir,
arises. Huh.
1 and 3 are the examples that how invention happened from generation to generations, and the second point is the best conclusion for that. That how talks about Western scholars, like Western scholars have worked on the Indian past in a tradition way. It is a proper way of concluding.
Okay. Any other answer? Okay, what happened to the guy who was answering it? So far you were absolutely correct. 5 and 4 mandatory pair that start. 1 and 3 are another mandatory pair. Where
yeah.
you place statement two? Once again, this is just practice, man. So go ahead, give your best shot.
So I will put it in the end. Five
Why?
four one three two.
Why?
So because these two statements are adding to the 5 and 4 statement. That is the openers.
Okay.
So I think that's why I will put it in the end.
Can you not say that the second statement is acting more like an example of the idea that 1 and 3 are presenting?
Yes, sir.
Can you?
Yes, sir.
That's it then. Nothing else. So you were doing a fantastic job. Go with your gut instinct, right? For
Yes,
parajumbles are the most scoring part of the VARC section. Ideally speaking, if you're getting 10 questions in it, you should be looking to attempt at least 6 or 7 with the 100% accuracy, or at max one of them being incorrect, right? So
yes, sir.
if you're going with the gut that I don't need to solve this question because I'm confused about something, fair enough, skip it. You'll be getting other options in parajumbles as well. But so far, your gut instinct was correct regarding the two mandatory pairs. The only thing that you had to sort of look into is the second statement placement, which I'm sure that you will be able to work around if you practice a little bit. Okay, so good job. Just practice a little bit and focus on your parajumbles, because once again, the most scoring part of a VARC section, right? Every question carries the same weightage. It's not like a ZAT examination where every question is a different weightage. So focus on these, and I'm sure that you will do well. Last,
Thank you.
54132. The last one. It's a little lengthy. So I will give you 3 seconds, 3 minutes. Okay, start. All right then. What's the answer, guys?
53241.
53241. Okay.
25431.
All right.
So 2 is the opener of the sentence of,
Okay.
and
Fair.
5 stated some facts that 2 was what 2 is saying, and then fourth is following the 5 by telling the effectiveness of placebo effect, and then statement 3 carries forward the discussion what the other three sentences were saying, and then first statements concludes the paragraph by saying the importance of placebo effect.
Okay. That pretty much does my job for me. Thank you so much for doing that. Right? Two starts, it gives an idea. Statement two gives an idea. Placebo effect, right? It introduces something, right? Fifth statement are now studied not just as spoils for real intervention, potential portal. Okay, fair enough. So it's calling into the idea of the placebo effect which was introduced. Okay, fourth statements, and third delve a little bit more into what the placebo effect is, and first concludes it from the healthcare perspective. Okay, fair enough. Now, what was the doubt over there? because there was uh, an incorrect answer starting with 5. Why would you think 5 starts before 2? In this case, 2 is coming off as an object opener. What was the doubt over here?
So I thought 5 is talking about the present, uh, how the placebo effect is seen now. So that's
Which is fine. But tell me about this. If it's an idea that is being introduced first, should it not take precedence over the current thing?
yeah.
Okay, that was like the major fault in the entire thing. Once you, I mean, this one, the mandatory pair, and the only sort of like mandatory pair that comes in over here is 4 and 3. Right, that's the only mandatory pair that comes into the picture. Then comes up the obvious opener part, which if you were able to get incorrectly, that sort of
Mm.
destroyed the entirety of the momentum. So be crucial around it. It's good if you are able to identify the mandatory pairs. It's absolutely fine, and that should be the way around it. But if an obvious opener is staring you in the face, you cannot ignore it, right? So
Yes,
on
sir.
that front, make sure that if there's as correct an obvious opener as second one present, you don't lose sight of creating a mandatory pair around it. Sure, it's not creating a mandatory pair, but it is definitely coming into the picture as the obvious opener. Okay,
Okay.
all right. Now the last and the biggest section that will come into the picture, apart from the grammatical questions that might come in, are the odd one out. It falls into a similar category as your parajumbles, right? It basically looks at your ability to create a paragraph by eliminating one of the options that are present, right? So same thing over here. Are you able to come up with mandatory pairs or mandatory triplets? Are you able to look at which are the obvious openers or the obvious closers? Are you able to look at that if there is an idea being introduced and then idea being explained a little later, right? If you're able to do all those things, you might be able to come up with a paragraph. But in order to do that, you will have to eliminate something that does not fits in well within that paragraph. It could be of the same topic, right? It could be of the same topic, but it does not fit in with the theme of that particular paragraph. So let's take a general example to discuss first. I am statement 1. I am currently preparing for my CAT examination. Statement 2. My CAT percentile is 99.8. Statement 3. I am giving mocks every week. Statement 4. The verbal section is something that I'm finding difficulty with. Statement 5. I am going to be wearing a blue suit on my interview day. Among these, which one is the odd one?
So last one.
So
So
fourth
fifth
one.
one.
Fifth one.
Last है ना हाँ
Fifth.
हाँ, से last one.
So the last one.
Right, the last one. While all of them are centering or revolving around getting a B school admission, 4 of them are actually about the exam, and the last one is about the interviews, right? So it could fall under the same theme, but the overall nature of that sentence might be different from what we are trying to form around in that paragraph. Let's look at another example. Virat Kohli and Rohit Sharma are the best current Indian batsmen. India did not perform well in the T20 tournament because we had too many similar players. There should be a middle order batsman that could potentially be a mainstay for the next few years. Our bowling was on par except for two matches. The new Indian cricket coach, should be able to improve the current team performance. Which statement is the odd one out?
Sir, first one.
What about the rest of you guys? Which one is the odd one out? Guys, what's the answer? Hello? Anybody there?
Yes, sir.
Sir, please repeat the question again.
Yes,
First
sir.
statement talks about Virat Kohli and Rohit Sharma. Second question talks about middle order batsman. Third question talks about performance. Fourth question talks about the bowlers. Fifth statement talks about new coach coming in. Which one should be eliminated? Sorry.
It's the last one.
Okay.
Yes, sir, the last one.
All right. Last response.
So first one.
Sir, first one.
Which one is it? First or last?
I think it's first. First.
Okay. Why?
So because it is the only positive sentence in the whole passage you said. All of these were saying negative. That
No, sir, in this first sentence, we were talking about the cricketers, and in rest of the day, we were talking about the cricket, like bowlers and batmans and coach. About the game we are talking about.
Okay. So both of you are at the correct answer, but the reasoning is a little bit flawed. The last four statements were talking about the performance of a team. The first one was individually stating that these are the best batsmen. That's all. Okay. So the theme was a little bit different. We were talking about the World Cup performance and how it could be improved. The first one was a generic statement that these are the two best batsmen. Okay. So while it revolved around the same theme, it did not fit in with the rest of the answer. So sure, you have the correct answer, but learn to identify why this is the odd one out. And once you do that, once you are able to identify why this is the odd one out, your job obviously becomes much more easier. That being said, let's jump on to the practice questions. Everybody ready?
Yes,
Yes,
sir.
sir.
yes, sir.
So once again, you get 2.5 minutes to solve every one of them, and then we can go ahead and discuss them. Remember, you can potentially create a paragraph, but what you need to do is identify the odd statement.
So fourth.
The yes, sir. Fourth one.
Okay, another answer is potentially coming in.
So fourth one.
Okay, that was both extremely fast and absolutely correct as well. The fourth one, right? All of them are talking about neuroscience, impact on brain cells, body influence, biology. And the fourth one, for some reason, is talking about plasma screen inward technology driven movers animals, right? Does not make any sense at all, right? So, once again, this is a question coming in from straight from CAT from last year, right? So, there would be some easy ones, right? Some scoring options as well, and you definitely need to jump on them and increase the time that you have for the rest of the paper. Good job, absolutely correct. Fourth one, question two coming in, and I hope that this is solved just as quickly.
So the third one.
So third one.
Okay, what's the last response?
So fourth, maybe. I'm not sure about this.
Okay, fair enough, skip it out. Now the two ladies, can you please give me an explanation of why you chose third?
So the third statement states that so it's going off track by saying that babies can understand language.
Okay, can you read the first statement for me? Just read it.
People who study children's language spend a lot of time watching how babies react to the speech they hear around them.
And your reasoning for eliminating third one is that it is talking about babies reacting to language. I am not sure I understand how you were able to eliminate the third, if that is your understanding.
So the first statement said how people study about children spend a lot of time watching, and the third statement was saying that babies react. The first statement was about how people react, how people studies about children language, and the third statement simply says that how babies react or understand language. That's why I eliminate third statement.
Once again, I'm entirely not sure on how you arrived at this. First statement is people who study children's language spend a lot of time watching how babies react to the speech. Third is they believe that babies begin to react to language from the very moment they are born. It is talking about the exact same thing. Okay, come honestly on this one. You haven't had a single incorrect answer so far. Were you already aware of the questions coming in from CAT 2020? Because their reasoning has been flawed on pretty much all the answers. It's okay. It's absolutely all right. I mean, if you already had solved the question paper
The
from last
fourth
year,
one, sorry,
sorry.
the fourth one,
Okay. No answers. Okay, I'll take it that my assumption was correct in that case. So the answer is correct. It is three, but it's the reasoning that sort of like made me realize that you were sort of bluffing around. The rest of the statements, right? The rest of the statements are around the part where the overall signaling of the children's language and how babies are reacting to the speech comes into the picture. The actual examination, right? The first one is primarily around the reaction part, okay, and that too at the moment of birth, which is different from every single other statement. It is about the actual examination of a baby's movement. The first one, not so much, and that's a very subtle difference between the two parts of things. Okay, so once again, it's good that you have at least solved the examination, but don't try to bluff it out, and that's all I'm saying. Okay, now the last question. What's the answer, guys?
So first one.
Okay. What else?
So first one.
All right. Why?
So because in 2, 3, and 4 and 5, they are
Uh-huh.
talking about Commonwealth Bank logo.
Okay.
It means a symbol. And in first one, it's talking about how they created, means the geometric symbol.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why I choose it.
Okay. Dude, what's the answer? Why did you choose first?
So because it is talking about aerodynamics and
Sorry?
all the it is talking about aerodynamic and others are talking about the logo only. I think aerodynamics is something that is used in vehicles and spaceships and all.
Okay. So you are more on the right track of things. The rest of the statements are talking about the logo in itself. It's the first one is talking about the shapes or the symbols that sort of appear in a particular logo, but we cannot say for sure whether it is about the Commonwealth Bank logo or not.
Yes, sir.
Right? That's the only reason. Okay.
Okay.
Now this pretty much concludes our presentation. I hope that you were able to get an idea of all of these things. I'll share the presentation with you guys so that you can go ahead and practice. In case you have any doubts across any of them, feel free to send them off with the help of your team, and I will relay the answers to you.
Okay,
Okay.
sir. Okay, sir.
All the best for the exams, guys. I wish you nothing but absolutely fantastic results.
Thank you, sir.
Right?
Thank you, sir.
Right. Thanks a lot,
Okay,
guys. Have a great
sir.
day ahead. Uh-huh.
Actually, that was a very informative session, and we were reminded of our own times when we were going through the same processes. So, thank you, sir, for your informative insights on the VRC section. Aspirants will surely benefit out of it. So, we will meet all of you in our next and final session of the CAT 2021 series. So, all the best, guys. We'll meet you on 21st now. Okay. Bye, everyone. And
All right.
thank you once again.
Sure, no problem. Thanks a lot, guys.
Bye.
Under